Hi girls, welcome to a brand new episode of the pod. I do feel like some of you are going to hate me today, and I feel like some of you are going to just think, oh, she's talking shit, I'm going to ignore her anyway. But I've got to get the information out there. Hopefully, most of you listening in will find the message empowering and you'll take the knowledge as it's intended to go off and start making moves and getting results. This one is about metabolism in menopause because everything we read, everything we see, everything we hear tells us that when we enter perimenopause and our estrogen declines, our metabolism crashes. Now, if you aren't sure exactly what I'm talking about by metabolism, that's basically how many calories our body needs at rest just to maintain itself. So it's the chemical processes that are happening in our body. Everybody has a metabolism and it's based on things like how much muscle you carry, how much body fat you carry, and then it's impacted by things like our activity level. That then becomes our NEAT and our TDE. So it's like daily expenditure, exercise, and activity. But we're sticking to metabolism for now. So stay with me. So, like I say, absolutely everything you've read, seen, heard, maybe experienced, you believe at this point that metabolism is directly impacted by perimenopause, even though I have all of the facts, data, crystal clear clarity on what the actual physiological situation is. 9 months ago, when I went into surgical menopause, because of everything I've seen, heard, read, spoke to clients about, I still had a bit of apprehension, to be honest, where I was thinking maybe my body is going to drastically change. Maybe the data is one thing, but all of this anecdotal evidence is another. Maybe it's going to change. So I'm going to start by saying I'm 9 months into perimenopause, and my body's changed in lots of ways in terms of how I have to look after myself and support myself. But genuinely, hand on heart, my body composition hasn't changed. I'm actually stronger than I was 9 months ago because I'm more focused on my training now. I fit all the same clothes I did last summer. I'm packing for a holiday today. Everything fits exactly the same as before menopause. Inches haven't changed. So I'm, safe to say that my behaviours, my healthful behaviours that I stuck to before I went into menopause are the same now, with a few little tweaks that we'll talk about. And my body composition genuinely hasn't changed. So, a few, I'm not talking shit. The evidence in terms of what I have personally experienced does match up with the data we have that menopause or perimenopause does not, underline, impact your metabolism. Perimenopause hasn't caused it to crash. Perimenopause, in terms of the physiological fluctuations of hormones happening in your body, are not the reason that you are gaining body fat. Let that sink in for a minute. I'm sure a few of you are throwing up your hands like, it's not true, my body's completely different. And that's a very real experience that you're having. I'm not dismissing that. But perimenopause is not causing you to gain fat. So, if you want to know more about perimenopause in general, right, how to manage it, the best behaviors to manage perimenopause, how your body's changing, why you might be storing fat in different places, why you feel like you used to be maybe hourglass shaped and now you're more apple shaped. If you want to know more about that, after you've listened to this, and it has to be afterwards, go and listen to the Magnificent in Menopause free masterclass. It's on YouTube, it's in the list, it's about an hour and 10 minutes. Get your pen and paper out. There is nothing else you need to know about perimenopause. But let's put a pin in that. That's if you want to know why your body has changed. Like I say, I'm not dismissing that there's changes happening there. But take your power back by understanding that no matter what influencers are telling you, no matter what the people are that are trying to sell you things are telling you, no matter what your personal experience has been, menopause is not impacting your metabolism. The data is crystal clear, girls. Menopause doesn't impact it. Aging does, but we're talking 60s is when there starts to be a decline in metabolism. This is what's actually happening, right? A few things. The first thing is, if you follow me, you are very clued up. You know, in fact, if you're listening to this pod, you probably already do it, but you know that as you age, from the age of mid-30s, you lose muscle mass year on year. Little bit year on year on year, we lose muscle mass, our body declines. That then speeds up in our like 50s. It goes, vroom, ramps right up, okay, as we're going into what would naturally, on average, be menopause at like 51. So that muscle decline speeds up, but it's not about menopause, it's about aging. And it only impacts us, it's only a problem for women who are choosing not to lift weights. So if you listen to this pod or you're one of my clients and you are strong AF and that's one of your goals to lift weights, this isn't going to be a problem for you. So that's awesome. Give yourself a pat on the back. But for women who aren't lifting weights, this is what the problem is with metabolism. So as our muscle mass declines, so too does our metabolism, because the amount of muscle we hold determines our BMR, so our basal metabolic rate, how many calories our body needs at rest, right? So we could eat exactly the same as we did when we were 25 at 45, and if we haven't lifted weights, we need less calories at 45, so we could be eating exactly the same, but obviously we're going to start to gain body fat because body fat is stored excess calories. So you could be like scratching your head going, my behaviours haven't changed, I'm doing exactly the same thing. But if you're not lifting weights, your metabolism is dropping. But the good news is it's a really simple solution. You can start lifting weights. Get a coach, get in the gym, lift weights, put muscle back on, stop muscle declining, maintain your metabolism. Make it easier to stay in a body you're comfortable in, make it harder to gain body fat. So that's one thing, but like I say, it's not necessarily menopause related. That is aging, and it happens to men as well. So men naturally have a higher metabolism than us because even without lifting, they have testosterone, they hold more muscle. But as men age, their hormones also decline, which means their muscle mass is also declining. So their metabolism will also decline if they are not lifting weights. So hopefully you're with me and this is making sense. So that's the first thing to think about. The impact that aging and strength training directly has on menopause, how many calories we consume without gaining fat to maintain current body composition. Now, the second thing, and I go into this in loads of detail in that menopause masterclass, is the main reason that women are gaining fat in perimenopause and they're finding it harder to stay in a body composition they're comfortable with, behaviours. The symptoms of perimenopause directly impact our behaviours. The symptoms include things like poor sleep, which causes a spike in ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone that then directly impacts our behaviours because we're going to be hungrier. So we're going to graze more, we're going to snack more, we're going to do it mindlessly. And you again might be listening, putting your hands up. Bex, I only eat 1,200 calories. I'm going to give you 3 examples now in real time off the top of my head of women who've come to me saying exactly that, who are shockingly now losing body fat, gaining muscle and feeling better in the body because they've got some knowledge and accountability. So one lady, right, convinced she was only eating X amount of calories to maintain her shape, but her weight was going up month after month. She comes to me, we go for a lot of accountability with this lady, so I help her understand her calories. Trust me, she's on 2,050 calories a day, but she thought she was eating considerably less. She was saying to me, I only eat 1,400 calories, right? I put her on 2,050. That means she can get everything she needs from a nutritional perspective. She's managing hunger, she's managing energy, she's not going to be binging elsewhere in the month. That's all she's going to be having, the 2,050. For 2 weeks, I kept her completely accountable. We checked in daily. That's what we wanted to do there. That's not normal for coaching. Not everybody needs that level. But this lady strongly believed that she had only been eating X amount of calories and that her hormones were holding her back, right? So I kept her accountable. We had a 2-week check-in. She'd dropped 3 kilos, which is about half a stone. So what does that tell you? This lady genuinely believed that she was only consuming a low amount of calories. She wasn't. Her hormone-led behaviours were driving her to overeat, mindless eat, snack, graze, binge. So somewhere in the month she was binging and we've got to grips with it and it's sorted. It's now moving in the right direction because we've worked on her behaviours with food. Another lady, I talked about her on a recent pod. Again, genuinely believed it's menopause. I only eat X amount of calories, blah, blah, blah. We started to get to grips with her behaviours. We're a month in. She's dropped a dress size. We're not weighing her. She doesn't know how much she weighs. It's not a good relationship with the scales. But she's dress size down in a month. Again, her calories were high teens, that lady. She's at about 1850. Body fat dropping off, muscle going up. So a lot of people know what to do. They just need the accountability and the understanding to help them actually take the steps with the behaviours. Other examples of behaviours that are holding you back, girls. Alcohol consumption. Alcohol consumption is extremely common in perimenopausal women because in the moment, in that second, it helps you relax, it helps you wind down, you use it as a reward at the end of a busy week, when ultimately it's inflammatory, it causes inflammation in our body, i.e. sore joints, flashes. It affects sleep. It might help us get to sleep initially, but then we have really disturbed sleep, so it causes our ghrelin to spike, the hunger hormone, the next day. It triggers anxiety, which again impacts our behaviours with food, our behaviours with exercise. We don't feel motivated. And it impacts our cognitive function, our ability to think about what were our goals, what do we want to achieve. So alcohol is an example. Also, cravings, because when we are experiencing some of the not so nice effects of perimenopause, we can look for dopamine elsewhere, and it works at the end of the day. If we go and eat chocolate, it tells our brain to produce dopamine. We feel a little bit better in the moment. Usually, because it's not serving our goals, if we've binged on it, we might feel shit afterwards. But in the moment, we're like, ooh, I feel perked up. So we look for that constant hit of dopamine from food. Again, if you go and watch the Magnificent in Menopause Masterclass, I dive into this. I help you understand other ways to get dopamine, other things you can do away from food and alcohol. When we're achy, when we're bloated, when we're tired, that's also going to impact our ability to train, our energy, our recovery. We're going to be sore. It's going to mean that we don't want to go out walking. Another client that I've been keeping accountable, struggling with anxiety triggered by perimenopause, but drinking alcohol, you might as well put, gas on the fire, gasoline. But it affects the motivation. It affects her willingness to go in the gym because she's anxious out of her tits. So we've limited alcohol, we've dealt with some behaviours that are going to help those symptoms, and we've got her in the gym training regularly. So she's doing all the things to help with her behaviours. So just to summarise, because like I say, if you want like all the juicy details on Menno, there's that whole masterclass on it. It's an hour and 15 minutes. Get your geek on, get your pen and paper and like geek up on it. Knowledge is power. But ultimately, take away from this, and I have nothing to gain from telling you lies, girls. I'm not trying to sell you anything, right? Trust me, the research is crystal clear, the evidence. Menopause does not impact your metabolism. Declining estrogen does not cause your metabolism to crash. Yes, there's a change in body composition, which we can work on. Your behaviours are impacting your body fat levels. You can make this better by lifting weights and looking at behaviour change, sleep, stress management, dopamine hit from things that aren't food, limiting alcohol, looking at your behaviours around food, having some accountability with, am I actually eating what I believe that I'm eating? You might even be tracking, you might even have a food diary. Again, I've had a client who kept a food diary. It was only when I kept the food diary with her did we see that she was consuming almost 1,000 calories extra every day. That's 7,000 calories a week. That's 28,000 calories over the month, which equates to around about 7 pounds of body fat gained. So it is what it is, girls. I hope that you find this empowering rather than, that can't be true. No, all these people are telling me other things. Like I say, I'm not trying to brag or be like, I don't know what the word is. I've forgotten, menopause brain, but like up my own arse saying to you, oh, check me out, my body hasn't changed. My body has changed in loads of ways, but it hasn't changed in body composition. I haven't gained fat. I haven't lost muscle. My genes fit the same. I'm getting packed for holiday. All my summer clothes are fitting like they did in June last year, which was 3 months before I went into surgical menopause. The data is backed up by the evidence when you've got your behaviours in check and you understand what to do to work with your body instead of against it. I hope this has helped. Listen to the Menopause Masterclass, subscribe if you haven't, and please let your friends know about the pod. We want to help as many women as we can feel amazing in their bodies, any age, any stage.